me. So when my enemy stands before me, I'm not looking at him, I'm looking at the demons that trail behind him with his past trauma or his information that he's holding.
I mean, I think that that's a very wise insight. And again, I think from an Old Testament context, that's the book of Jonah. Right? The book of Jonah is all about the idea that Jonah has to go to Nineveh, where everyone's a sinner. And Jonah,
that was us. Right. We were Nineveh. Well, I'm Assyrian.
And you know, Jonah is protesting because he's saying the Assyrians are going to be the party who ends up destroying the temple. So why am I going and you know, basically bringing them back to monotheism? And God says, well, they're human beings. I mean, you need to go and do that regardless of what comes next. And that's a very generous point of view. I'm not sure that it always manifests politically, but I think that when you're talking to people, it's wonderful. I also think that even on the less deep level, I think you're going to a really deep level that's important, but even on the less deep level where you say, okay, there are people who are motivated by malice, who hate Christians for whatever reason, but actually hate Christians. I think it's easy to ascribe that motivation to a broader swath of people than it merits. So instead of saying we have a political disagreement over X, Y, or Z issue, it's, oh, you do that because you despise me and you want people like me to die. And I think that's the easiest thing in politics, because if you push on that button, and everyone who's on your side responds. Like it's an easy response mechanism, because your threat, everyone's threat, you know, limbic system goes into play, and now you can manipulate people, because once in a place of fear, it's very easy to manipulate people. I think that you see that a lot on both the right and the left side of the aisle. I think you see a example where people are like, he's a fascist, he's like Hitler, he's going to kill people. Is he though? Is he really? Why are they doing that? I think that some of them are doing it because they feel that, which I think is misguided. Some of them are doing that because I think they're being manipulative. A great way to motivate people is to say that there's an existential threat to you, and so you know it's an approach called emotivism by the philosopher Alistair McIntyre, trying to attribute motive to the person rather than arguing with their argument, and that's something I really try not to do in debate. So if I'm in debate, I never will say to you, you're doing this because what you believe is X. I'll say, okay, just make sure your argument is this. Here's where I see flaws in that argument. I see flaws here, here, and here. Because if we do that, we can have a conversation. If I'm arguing about your deep-rooted motivation is that you want something terrible to happen to me and my family, that's not an argument now. Now we're at war.
Yeah, I understand that. So you're saying, okay, this is an Old Testament reference too. If they can't assassinate you, they'll assassinate your character. So that way other people are like, no, he's bad.
Right, exactly. And again, I think it's really motivating, and it's really easy to play that game.
Do you think they did that with Andrew Tate?
I mean, it depends on who they is. So I think there are a lot of critiques of Andrew Tate. I've obviously been extremely critical of Andrew Tate. My view of Andrew Tate has always been that he makes some critiques about, for example, feminism that I very much agree with. He said some things that I think about masculinity that probably need to be said. I also think he plays a bit of a game where he says two things. One of them is perfectly reasonable, plausible, and then he says something that's completely nuts. And then he bundles those two things together. And then if you argue with him,
I'm getting ready to lay down. I just wanted to see how your headache's doing.
It's still there.
It's still there. You need some more.
No, I took 2, so it'll just take a little bit for it to kick in.
Okay.
Usually,
be okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
It's not bad. It's just I don't want it to get bad.
Right, I understand.
So, like, it's there.
Yeah.
But it's not like extreme.
Maybe it's your ear, Danny.
Nah.
No. Nah. Sometimes it can bother you, and it's cold outside, so.
I don't think that's what it is.
Okay.
Because you're arguing with the plausible thing. So he'll say things like, men in the divorce system are victimized. 100% true. Totally agree. Or feminism has made male-female relations so much worse. Totally agree. And then he'll say, real manhood is basically me with a bunch of beautiful women around me. I'm like, that's not actually something with which I agree. And he goes, like, I think, actually, in fact, I think that's kind of a schmucky thing to be. I think it's a bad person. I think it's a bad thing to do. And he'll say, well, so you're arguing with, so you're like, no. No. I agreed with half of what you said and not the other half. And so I don't think that him as a package deal is a good package deal.
Have you ever wanted to just sit down and discuss some ideas with him?
Yeah, I mean, we've had very public exchanges on Twitter in which he has accused me of not being manly enough or that sort of thing. And my view of Tate again is, I think that if he had nothing, then he wouldn't be popular. But I think that I think he's doing more damage than good. I think that he is. I think the things he says about women historically have been quite nasty. I think that his foreign policy is insane, or shall we say wrong in the extreme morally. And I think that, frankly, he's grifting a huge percentage of his audience. I think that his Tate University looks like a pyramid scheme. I'm failing to see where is he building a decision-making